Wednesday, August 20th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Meteorologist Matthew East here with you. And certainly it was a humid and quite warm day yesterday across the region. 87 the high in Greensboro, 90 in Charlotte, 92 in Fayetteville, 93 in Wilmington. This morning, a lot of 70s on the board. 70 in Charlotte, 72 in Raleigh and Greenville, 75 for Wilmington, some mid-60s up in the mountain zones. Greensboro at 72. Our dew point temperatures, they're up there too. It is a sticky morning in place. A lot of our dew point temperatures hovering very close to the 70-degree mark, and that is up there toward the oppressive levels there on our dew point comfort scale. So certainly a very, very muggy morning underway. Now here's the setup today. Look up here to the northwest of us, this activity here in parts of Kentucky, Ohio, and West Virginia. That's another disturbance in this series of disturbances that continue to move in our direction. And as that disturbance rides along that front and drops in our direction, it'll bring at least a few showers and thunderstorms to the region later on into the day today. In the mountains as soon as later this morning, and then out into the Piedmont zones as we go through this afternoon. I don't think it's going to be a tremendously significant coverage of showers and storms, but some activity out there a little later on. Now, this is what the activity looked like yesterday. The forecast behaved pretty much as expected. The greatest coverage of showers and storms down into South Carolina and southern parts of North Carolina, and then you had some evening activity bubble up in parts of the Triad zones. Now, in terms of what's happening now, a couple of showers out there southwest of Raleigh, and again very electric activity early this morning moving through Kentucky into West Virginia. Each one of those white dots represents a cloud to ground lightning strike over the past 15 minutes, and that's with that disturbance I mentioned. Now as we look at your highs today, it's going to be a warm one, top out in the upper 80s to lower 90s, and again I think a few showers and thunderstorms bubbling up during the heating of the day as that disturbance rolls on in. Now as we get into tomorrow, the heat really continues to take over around the region. Look at these Thursday afternoon highs up to 95 in Charlotte, 99 in Columbia, even right along the coast. Charleston at 98, and I think Friday just as hot, if not a degree or two hotter in many spots across the region. Now notice that front beginning to back southward again. It holds off to the north Friday, so again it looks like a very steamy Friday. Mid and upper 90s around Charlotte, 100 the high Friday in Columbia and Charleston, one of the hottest days of the summer across the region here as we wrap up the work week. But then the pattern changes just a bit as we get into the weekend. That upper level ridge shifts a little bit off to the west, and so you get the core of the heat underneath that upper level ridge, and that allows actually high pressure over the northeast to gradually build down. Now there's some disagreement as to exactly how much of this cooler air will move in. Some models are actually quite aggressive with bringing in the cooler air, others not so much. For the time being, I'm going to go with the idea of Sunday on into at least Tuesday of next week, highs in much of North Carolina backing down into the 80s. But we'll just have to see how the details of that begin to play out. Now, things are getting a little bit more interesting in the tropics. Still no classified systems, and we're really not even anywhere close to getting our next classified system. However, we are watching tropical wave that's pretty decently defined, although it's not certainly not organized, but it's a decent tropical wave moving across the western Atlantic, getting closer and closer to the Lesser Antilles. And you'll see what happens here. The track on this tropical wave off to the west-northwest, probably passing up through the greater Antilles or relatively close to that, meaning Hispaniola and maybe Cuba. And most modeling actually winds up getting this over here into the Gulf of Mexico at some point later on next week. A couple models take it down to the Atlantic, but the majority of models bring this somewhere into the Gulf. Now this may very well just be a wave of low pressure that never develops into a decent tropical system, but the potential is there for this to develop into a classified system over the next week. So plenty of time to watch it, and we'll do just that. All right, that is it for today's edition of the video. Everybody have a wonderful day, and God bless.